Spurgeon here with RevZilla, and today we're going to take a look at how to clean and maintain your motorcycle helmet to make sure it continues to look nice and new. So if you're anything like myself, you spent the entire riding season just pouring miles onto your bike, well, the outside of your helmet looks like a bug graveyard, and the interior of your helmet has been capturing all the sweat that you've been pouring into it on all of those long rides. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to break down how to properly clean not just the exterior of your lid, but we're going to get into how to clean the interior as well, because a lot of times that's collected all of that grease as well, and you need to get those cheek pads and liner clean to make sure your helmet operates properly. Now, as far as our BSD, our beard scale of difficulty, this is going to be a 1 out of 3. This is something that anyone out there can tackle using simple materials found around your home. So before we go any further, there's a quick note here. Make sure to consult your owner's manual before doing any cleaning or maintenance to your helmet. A lot of times, certain manufacturers are going to have different UV coatings or anti-fog coatings on the face shield, and there's a wide variety of different manufacturers out there, and you want to make sure that you're not doing anything to void your specific warranty. So always just take a look at that owner's manual and keep it handy when you're doing this for the first time. So let's break down what you're going to see on the table and what you'll need to do this job. Starting on my left-hand side, I have got microfiber rags. And these are going to be great to clean the exterior of your helmet because you're not going to worry about scratching the helmet itself or the face shield. Now, they don't have to be brand new, but make sure they're clean. So if you have some laying around the house, just make sure you launder those before you go and you start washing off your helmet. Next, you'll see a toothbrush. It does not have to be Oral-B, but it does have to be something with soft bristles to it. And we're going to use this in hard to reach places that those microfiber rags won't allow you to easily clean. Next up, you're going to see Johnson's & Johnson's baby shampoo. This same stuff you use to clean your hair, we're going to use to clean the interior of your helmet. You just want to make sure you're never using a petroleum-based soap with this. So it's the reason we went with Johnson's & Johnson's. Very simple, and most people have it laying around the house. On my right-hand side, this is just going to be a giant tub of warm water. Like we mentioned with the owner's manual at the beginning, you never want to use anything on your helmet that could possibly damage it. So we're going to use warm water to clean the exterior of the helmet. You're not going to need any fancy cleaners, and we'll show you how. Now lastly, we're going to use a little bit of compressed air. And we're going to use this to clean the vent system out. Now, you never want to use canned compressed air, and the reason why is you never want to go at your helmet with any type of an aerosol. An aerosol will eat away at your EPS liner, and you'll end up damaging it to the point where it's not going to keep you safe in the event of a crash. So always just steer clear of aerosols when you're cleaning your helmet. So with all of our materials wrapped up, let's dive into the actual process of cleaning it. Now, you'll note this is a dual sport helmet, and the first thing I did was I removed the peak visor. So for any of you out there already rocking a peak or rocking a dual sport visor, that's the first step. You just want to pull that off. I've already removed mine and set it aside. And the rest of you, if you're rocking a full face helmet, this is pretty much what it's going to look like. So you want to start by removing any kind of electronic system you've installed first and foremost. The last thing you want to do while you're cleaning your helmet is run the risk of damaging any kind of electronics that would be in your lid. Now, to do so, chances are you're going to have to remove the internals from your helmet. So for those of you that aren't using an electronic system, this is where we're going to pick up. So we're going to take all the cheek pads out. We're going to start with the chin curtain. We're going to pull that out, and we're going to set all this stuff aside because we're going to actually take a field trip over to the RevZilla kitchen where we're going to show you exactly how to wash your internals. Now, for those of you out there that have never taken the internals of your helmet out before, go ahead and consult that owner's manual. Every manufacturer is going to be a little bit different for removing, but in most cases, you can simply pull out your cheek pads the way that I'm doing right now, pull out the liner, pull out the chin curtain. It should be a fairly straightforward process for removing all of this stuff. I got that little cord in the way. But once you pull this stuff out, you're simply going to take it, set it aside, and we're going to deal with that in just one moment. But before we do that, we want to prep the actual shell of the helmet itself. And all we're going to do is we're going to drape a microfiber rag over top of this with warm water on it. And we're just going to let that set for about 15 minutes or so while we're cleaning the interior. So you're going to take your microfiber rag, and you're simply going to dunk it into the warm water. Make sure it's not completely soaked, but you want to just wring it out a little bit so it's got a nice amount of water in there. And all you're going to do is you're going to take this and you're just going to drape it over your helmet. And really what we're doing here is we're allowing the rag to kind of dislodge any hard-pressed bugs, dirt, or grime that might be stuck to the helmet. The last thing you want to do is just start wiping away at a helmet if some of those items are really stuck on there. You run the risk of scratching either the shell or the face shield, and nobody wants that. So while this is sitting here to soak, let's head over to the kitchen and we can take a stab at cleaning that interior. So welcome to the RevZilla kitchen. I really feel like I should be showing you how to slice and dice your way through Sunday supper, but we are here to show you how to clean the internals of your helmet. And this is because oftentimes it's the internals that are the most neglected piece of your helmet. So really what we're going to do here is we're going to use a little bit of shampoo. I have the Johnson & Johnson's baby shampoo. I've filled up my sink with some warm water. I've mixed some shampoo in here. And the reason we're using shampoo, it's going to remove all the oils from your hair. So this is the same stuff you would use when you're in the shower washing your hair. It does a great job of removing all the oils from the cheek pads and the liner as well. So you want to start by just grabbing one of the cheek pads and simply submerging in the water. And you're just going to massage it back and forth. Pretend you're washing your hair. You're just going to rub this back and forth, get all the oils, all the grime out of here. And don't be afraid to, get aggressive with this. Rub it against itself. Now, some of you out there, you'll have removable covers for your cheek pads. I recommend just washing them with the covers on. If you've ever removed those cheek pads, they're kind of a pain in the butt to get back on. And usually you can do the entire process with the actual liners in place. So with this one, I've got it nice and washed out here. You just want to take the water, a little bit of warm water, and you want to do the same process. You just want to rinse all of that soap out. You don't want any soapy residue left in the cheek pad. Don't be afraid to use too much. And then once you feel like you've massaged out all the water, you can give it a nice squeeze and just push that water out of there and set it aside to dry. And once you have one cheek pad clean, you're simply going to repeat the process. You move on to the next cheek pad, you're going to get it down in the water, and just give it a nice massage back and forth, and then just run it under some warm water, make sure it's rinsed out, and then set it to the side. Once you have this complete, it's just time to let these air dry. The one thing you don't want to use is you don't want to use any external heat. You're not going to use a hair dryer, not going to use a clothing dryer, and you're certainly not going to stick these into the microwave. You can damage any of the plastic parts on here. So put them onto a nice clean towel, let them air dry, and come back to them the next morning. And this is going to be a pro tip for you. I recommend completing this process the night before you plan on actually using your helmet. That way you have a solid 8 hours of letting your internals dry before you reinstall them into your helmet. Now, speaking of reinstallation, we've got the rest of the helmet to clean and reassemble. So let's head back over to the studio. All right, so we are now back in the studio after cleaning the interior of the helmet, and it's now time to clean the exterior of this shell. It's been here for about 15-20 minutes with just this warm, wet cloth, dislodging any dirt and grime. And we're now ready to take this off, and we're gonna start with the actual cleaning process. As you can see, as we just set this back in our warm water, it's done a nice job of just kind of dissolving some of that locked on dust, dirt, and debris. And the first step here is we're gonna remove our face shield. Now, every manufacturer is a little bit different, so make sure to consult your owner's manual if you're not sure how to pull the face shield off, or you can watch our detailed breakdown videos where we show you how to do so. With the Next, it's easy, it snaps right off, and we're just gonna set that to the side for the time being. And what we're left with is our external shell, and now it's time to clean this. So we're gonna take our microfiber rag, and remember, we're just using warm water. You wanna stay away from aerosols, you wanna stay away from any solvents, and just a little bit of warm water will allow us to clean this nicely. And we're just gonna go ahead and we're just gonna simply give it a nice liberal wipe down using a generous amount of water. Don't be afraid to get too much water on here. And you're gonna see all that dirt coming off. And just make sure to work in all those little nooks and crannies. And we'll get to using that toothbrush in just a second. And just work your way around the helmet. Work your way down, make sure you're just kind of getting any of the spots that might be trapping dirt clean. And then just rinse out your microfiber rag as you're going along. Working our way around the back here, you can see just by letting that sit for that 15 or 20 minutes did most of the work for me. So there's really not much left to do except for just wipe off any of the excess little stuck pieces that you have lodged in there. So if you do have anything that's stuck in the vents itself, or maybe around the gaskets, this is where that toothbrush comes into play. Just get a little bit of warm water on there and just work your way around the gaskets. Like I said, for most of you street riders out there, your biggest contention here is going to be bugs. For you dual sport or dirt riders, that's where the dirt and the mud does have a tendency to get caked in. The other place where I noticed that dirt tends to stick is any of your vent systems, especially your chin vents. Now, some of you out there will have chin vents that are removable from the inside with a little screen that you can clean. This would also be a perfect time to clean those out as well. Now, as I've worked through here, most of this is looking pretty good at this point in time. But there is always the possibility that you get a big fat June bug stuck up underneath your vent, or for you dirt riders out there, maybe these are clogged up with dirt. So one of the tricks to get those vents clean is to use a little bit of compressed air. And like I said, you never want to use any aerosol, so make sure you've got an air compressor out in the garage, and you want to set this to a low setting. You want to blow through here so hard you actually push those vent covers off. We just want to dislodge anything with a quick little blast that might be lodged in there. And that's usually all it takes, is just a little quick blast of air, and that's going to clean the vent out for you, and it just helps to push any bugs or debris back out. And like I said earlier, make sure when you're doing that, you do have the vents open. That way it allows anything that's lodged in to push right out. So once we have this shell cleaned, you want to take a dry microfiber rag and just give it a nice little wipe down. At any point, if you see any extra little pieces of dirt or debris, this is the time to wipe them off, but this helmet's starting to look pretty good, nice and shiny as we have it dried off. So now it's time to move on to the face shield. So the face shield we've got sitting over here, we've already had this, kind of soaking with that draped over cloth in front of it. And this is really the tricky process as far as you don't want to damage your face shield because these get a little bit pricey to replace. Now, like we talked about in the beginning, a lot of times your face shields will have special coatings, either a UV coating or an anti-fog coating. So if you have any doubts about your particular face shield, just make sure to go and refer back to that owner's manual. This would also be a great time for you pin lock customers to refresh your pin lock insert. Pull the pin lock out and just make sure to have a new fresh one handy. So what we're going to do is the same way we were cleaning the exterior of the helmet, just a little bit of warm water and a microfiber rag, and you should have no problems with this. You just don't want to use any solvents or anything that could damage any of those coatings that you might have on your face shield. Looks like I got a little piece of dirt kind of stuck down right here. Just a little bit of elbow grease, nothing too crazy. And like I said, most of the debris should have been loosened very nicely when we had this rag draped over top. And by removing that pin lock insert, it allows you to clean the inside of this as well. Any fingerprints or watermarks you might have, you can wash these out because you are going to be replacing that pin lock insert on a nice clean visor. So once we have this cleaned, again, we're just going to take our dry microfiber rag and we're just going to wipe this down. And this is really where you'll see if there's any fingerprints or anything lingering behind. Don't be afraid to hold it up to the light. And this is starting to look pretty darn good considering how dirty this helmet was when we started this process. Again, like I said, with these dual sport helmets, they have a tendency to get pretty muddy, pretty dirty. And we don't really have any scratches on here. This is a great time too. If you see any scrapes or scratches, it might be time to go ahead and replace a face shield, but usually you can get a pretty decent life out of a face shield by just maintaining it on a regular basis. So the face shield is looking nice and clean. We're going to set that to the side for the time being. And the last piece here before we get to reassembly is going to be for any of you folks out there that are using an internal sun shield. Now, the next helmet, the XD1, does have an internal sun shield, and you'll note there's a little bit of dust on this particular one. Most of you out there, you'll have that face shield closed, so you shouldn't really have too much going on with your internal sun visor. But if you just get a little water bottle and spray some warm water on there, and then just wipe it off with that microfiber rag. Quick note, one of the things you probably don't want to do is disassemble your internal sun visor. Now, you can pull it out if you want to, but 99% of the manufacturers out there make this a very difficult process. And because most of you are going to be using that internal sun visor with that exterior face shield down, chances are you're not going to have to worry about doing that. So just cleaning it with it in the actual helmet itself is 9 times out of 10 going to be just enough to get it nice and clean for you. So once you've got the face shield clean, the internal sun visor is clean, the shell is clean, it is now time for reassembly. So we're going to grab those internals that we had sitting over at the sink, and keep in mind for you folks out there that are utilizing a comm system, now would be the time to go ahead and reinstall that. The interior is going to go back in with your main comfort liner first, and then we're going to go through and we're going to reinstall the cheek pads. Make sure that comfort liner is nice and secure in there, and then make sure the cheek pads fit in nice and secure around that. They should snap into place nice and firm. If you did remove a chin curtain, you can go ahead and reinstall that last. Once you have the internals all inside there, you have one final piece of the puzzle to complete your helmet here. It is now time to reinstall your face shield. Now keep in mind, this is going to be nice and clean, so hold it from the edges. You don't want to get your grubby fingerprints all over it. For those of you out there that are utilizing a pin lock system, this would be the perfect time to reinstall a new pin lock insert. For those of you out there that do not have a pin lock insert, let's get this back onto our helmet. And every helmet manufacturer is going to be a little bit different. Some will make it easier, some will make it more difficult. Next does a nice job of just, once I line these tabs up, it usually snaps right back into place for me without too much difficulty. There we go. Close it up. We have a nice clean helmet. It looks brand new and it is perfectly ready for us to go out and get dirty all over again. That's the most fun part of this process, getting it clean so you can get right back out there to ride. Now keep in mind, you can click the info button, which will allow you to keep up with all the different resources we have rolling out for you here at RevZilla.com. And if you have specific questions about the helmet that you're using on your motorcycle, reach out to one of our gear geeks at 877-792-9455, or simply shoot us over an email, cs@RevZilla.com. Thank you for joining us for this look at how to clean and maintain your motorcycle helmet. I'm Spurge. Enjoy the ride.